All right, so this evening's restorative class, we're going to dive into the hips first and then move our way up to our shoulders. So really tackling the two large joints in the body, both our ball and socket joints. Well, actually the shoulder has several joints going on in the shoulder girdle, but we mostly think of it as being this ball and socket joint here. We're also going to investigate the ball and socket joint of the hip. So you will need 2 bolsters if you've got them. And if you have a choice, grab a rectangle and a round if you have them. Otherwise, just grab 2 bolsters or a bolster and a couple of pillows. You will need a strap tonight and a blanket. And yeah, I believe that's it. So if you don't have a strap, you can grab a belt or a tie or the belt of a robe or something also works well. So as you get your gear together, I want you to come onto your back, and you can have your blanket up at the head and have it underneath your head as a small pillow, but I don't want it to be too high. It can be high enough to give you a little bit of cushion, a little bit of support under your neck, but not super duper high. Come onto your back and have your strap within arm's reach or whatever you're using as a strap. And once you get down onto the floor, I'm going to have you take your arms either up over your head or out to the side, whatever your joints will approve of and whatever your space will allow. And give yourself a couple of deep breaths that are accompanied by a couple of long, deep stretches. So you can point your toes towards the edge of your mat, reach your fingertips away from your trunk, allow your back to arch slightly. And that would be your inhale. And as you exhale, you just relax and let yourself drop. And do that a couple more times, just a deep, rich breath in. Filling your body with prana and exhaling, allowing your body to deflate. Good. One more time. Really open up your hands wide, spread your fingers wide, stretch the fascia of your palms. And then exhale. Just relax. Bend your knees, please, and set your feet onto your sticky mat. And let's go at least as wide as our mat. Just get a little movement through the hip joints with some windshield wipers. So you'll breathe in and drop your knees to the left, and your arms can be out to the sides or bent like a cactus, or maybe still up over your head if you'd like. And when you exhale, you'll come back up through center. Breathing in, you'll drop your knees over to the right, and it's this inhalation that supports the extension of your spine, the lift, the arch of your low and mid back. And exhaling back through center. And then just keep going from side to side. Notice if there's any differences between the two sides. Invite the inhalations to stretch your anterior spine as well. So seeking a stretch through your belly, from the base of your sternum down across your navel through all the way down to your pubic bone. Big stretch through the front of your body on the inhale. When your knees are dropping over to the left, I'll ask you to stay there for a couple of breaths. And slowly make your way through center. And take your knees over to the right. And let's find our way back to center. So you can walk your feet back onto your mat. And bring your right knee into your chest. You make circles with your toes, your right toes, in one direction a few times, and then be sure to go in the other direction. And grab your strap. We're going to loop our strap around the ball of our right foot and get this practice started off with what we call Supta Prangushtasana, sending our right heel to the ceiling. And this is not so much about trying to bring the right leg over your head or trying to bring the right toes over your head. It's more about just finding the vertical line through your right leg and unfurling your tailbone down onto your sticky mat. And now I like to make a buckle with my strap so that I actually have a secure loop. Because what that allows me to do is just kind of hook my right hand through the loop. That way I'm not hanging on to the strap for dear life and stressing my knuckles. It's just an option. Now, if you want to take your left leg down the length of your mat, that's totally up to you. Try to feel as much of your right buttock on your sticky mat. Really let your right buttock spread out on your mat and drop your right femur bone, that's your thigh bone. Let that sucker descend heavily into your hip socket. And from there, you can lift up through your right heel. So there's a little dynamic of opposing actions happening in this shape. There's an ascension and a descension, ascending and descending happening simultaneously along the bones and the muscles of the right leg. And taking your strap in your right hand, sweep your right leg out to the right. We're not trying to hit the floor. We just want to go maybe 2/3 of the way. This is actually a nice spot to put a bolster underneath your right thigh to give yourself a little bit of support. If you have your left leg down, I want to encourage you to imagine that you have a 10-pound sandbag across the top of your left thigh. And if you actually have a 10-pound sandbag, then by all means, grab it and drag it up onto the top of your thigh. Allow that weight to drop your femur down to the earth. And bring your right leg back up, move slow. Pull up through the strap. Change hands on your strap. So now your left hand has the loop. You'll take your right arm out to the right for counterbalance and gently sweep your right leg over to the left, across your body to the left, coming into a twist. You can lift your right hip, your right buttock will come up off of the mat. But keep your right shoulder down, please. And bring your right leg back up to vertical one more time. And it's here you can change hands on your strap once again, holding your strap with your right hand. Give your left hand a break. Bending your right knee, bring your right knee into your chest, please, so you can release your strap. Set your strap to the side just for a brief moment while you give your right knee a very sweet hug. Notice if your right knee is feeling any more fluid, any more mobile, or your right hip rather. Maybe you notice if your right knee is coming a little closer to your chest than it was 5 minutes ago. Good. Set your right foot onto your sticky mat. Keep your knee bent, please. And now you'll bring your left knee into your chest. And right away, notice the difference that you feel between your left hip, your left knee, and your right hip, your right knee. And we'll make some circles with our left toes, being sure to go about the same number of times in each direction. And take your strap and loop it around the ball of your left foot. And here we go. Second verse, same as the first. Send your left heel to the ceiling, while at the same time, you allow the weight of your left thigh bone to drop down and anchor itself into the socket, the ball and socket, the head of the femur into the what's called the acetabulum of your hip joint. And now's a good time if you want to explore sliding your right heel down the length of your mat. See how that feels. If your body approves, you can stay there. Otherwise, keep your knee bent and your foot on the floor. with so much emphasis on the hip and the thighs, and in particular, the muscles along the back of the left leg. Notice if we've been neglecting our neck and our throat and jaw a bit. So notice what's going on up there. If there's tension, residual tension from the day or the week, the month, or the last 2 years. Give your jaw permission and your tongue permission to just soften. And now taking your strap in your left hand, if it's not already, you'll take your left leg out to the left. At the same time, take your right arm out to the right. Bring your left leg back up, please. Change hands with your strap, and then keep gliding your left leg across your body over to the right. Ooh. Oh, stretch your left arm out to the left to act as a counter balance. Wow. Hmm. Hmm. And slowly come up, please. Ooh, 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 ooh. Hmm. And stay put at center for a couple of breaths just to close it out, close out this part of the sequence. Nice. Bend your left knee, please. Bring your left knee into your chest. Release your strap. We're done with the strap. Yay. Toss that to the side. Now bring your right knee into your chest as well. And I want you to cross your right thigh all the way over your left thigh, almost like you're going to twisty tie your legs together. And then from here, just take your hands maybe around the top of your right shin or knee, or maybe over your left shin or knee. Just gently hug your legs into your chest. Right thigh is crossed over your left thigh. You might feel a little more comfortable to clasp your fingers together around the back of your left thigh. That might feel a little more accessible. And give your knees just a little tiny rock over to the left and see if maybe something doesn't wake up in your right buttock just a little bit. And we're diving into the piriformis muscle, which is a deep muscle, meaning that it lies underneath the 3 gluteals. So it's not always readily accessible until we patiently warm up the gluteus maximus, medius, and minimus. But the thing about the piriformis muscle is that you've got one on each side, your right hip and left hip, and your back body. And the thing about the piriformis muscle is that it lies right on top of the sciatic nerve. So quite often, a tight piriformis muscle can compress the sciatic nerve. Good. Now release your hands from your leg and set your left foot onto the floor. Keep your right leg crossed all the way over your left leg. And now we're going to drop our knees to the right. I know you're tempted to take them to the left, but I want you to drop your knees over to the right. And you can even let your left foot walk over to the right edge of your sticky mat. And as you drop your knees to the right, your left buttock will come up off the floor. That's fine. Stretch your left arm out to the left. Bring your knees back up. Ooh, left foot to the floor. Uncross your legs. Good. Now we'll cross our left leg all the way over our right leg, thigh over thigh. Bring your knees to your chest. And then hold on where it's comfortable to hold on. That might mean taking your hands behind your right thigh or hands over your right knee or hands over your left shin. We're just gently drawing the knees towards our trunk. But even more importantly, I want you to rock your knees a little to the right. It's a small move. It doesn't have to be a very big move to feel some sensation, perhaps, in your left buttock. Good. Bring your right foot to the floor. And keep your legs crossed. You're just going to drop your knees over to the left. Hi, Candace. Glad you made it. We're just about to switch gears. You'll want to have 2 bolsters and a blanket, or 1 bolster and a couple of pillows, or just a couple of pillows. Bring your knees back up through center, please. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Uncross your legs. Stretch your legs down onto the floor, and let's finish this part of our practice up with a big stretch accompanied by a big deep breath, arching your low back away from the floor, stretching through your toes and your fingers, your feet and your hands. Terrific. Bend your knees, please. And now we're going to start using our props. So roll to one side or pull yourself up to sitting so that you can grab a bolster. If you've got a rectangle bolster, you'll roll with that one, or just grab a pillow. You're going to set the bolster across the top of your mat horizontally. We're going to come into child's pose, balasana. And you're going to have your knees together, take your feet wide, or knees together or knees wide rather. Sorry about that. Whatever feels good for your stomach and your lower back. And then come on down. And I want you to be able to rest your forehead on the bolster and stretch your arms up over the bolster. And drop your hips towards your heels. Let your belly be soft between your legs. Allow your ribs to open and expand, and your spine to become long. Now I'm going to have you keep your left arm reaching over your bolster, but take your right arm and I want you to thread it onto your mat to the left. Forehead still rests on your bolster. And your hips will still rest at your heels. Your right arm is on the floor. It's threading across your mat to the left between your bolster and your left knee. Unthread your right arm. Let it rest over your bolster, drape it over your bolster. And let's go into the other side. So taking your left arm and threading it between your bolster and your right knee. And if any time your knees get disgruntled with this level of flexion, or if your hips become unhappy with this level of flexion, you can lift your hips up and come into the more classic version of thread the needle. Still be on your knees, but just won't have that deep bend in your knees. And if you do that, push the bolster out of your way so your head can be on the floor, and it'll look more like this, or some semblance like this. Great. Unthread your left arm, drape it over your bolster. Returning one last time to child's pose, Balasana. And lift yourself up onto your hands and your knees. And if you've got the blanket at the top of your sticky mat, fold your blanket in half a second time. Slide your bolster out from underneath you. I'm going to have you come all the way down onto your belly. Let the blanket support your forehead. And now if you'll take your right arm straight out to the right, palm down on the floor. Your right arm is in the same plane as your right shoulder. I want you to bend your left elbow. Press your left hand into the floor about even with your chest. You're gently going to roll yourself over onto your right hip, right shoulder, right ribs. Now you can keep your legs straight, or you do have this bolster nearby. You could bend your left knee and rest it on the bolster in front of you. Allow your jaw to unhinge at the TMJ so that your bottom teeth drop away from your top teeth, and maybe even your lower jaw, your mandible kind of drops towards the floor a little bit. So you'll be a little unhinged. Maybe some of us more than others.
Using your left hand on the floor, on your mat, use that like a gentle brake pad, and very gently bring yourself onto your belly once again. Using your left hand to keep you from falling onto your belly, but just coming down very slow. Ooh. And then you can stack your hands one on top of the other out in front of you and rest your forehead on your hands. Okay, let's do the other side. Take your left arm straight out to the left, palm down, and pressing your right hand into the floor with your right elbow bent. You'll gently roll yourself over onto your outer left hip, outer left thigh. Peel your tongue off the roof of your mouth. Allow it to broaden and expand at the base of your mouth. And settling your right hand into your sticky mat to act like a little pumping of the brakes. Gently begin to roll onto your belly. And once more, you can stack your hands one on top of the other and rest your forehead on the back of your hands. Wiggle your legs from side to side a couple of times. Wiggle your butt. Let that wiggle move up your spine. And then come to a place of stillness. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders and begin to press up onto your hands and your knees. Good. And from here, we're going to come into what most people call puppy dog pose. It's called Anahatasana. Anahata, the word for the heart chakra, Anahata, meaning unstuck. And what happens is we keep our hips elevated and directly over our knees. Stretch arms forward, and then slowly bring your forehead down to the mat. Now, some of you might want to take your chin to the mat, which is a pretty significant extension through the cervical spine. Might not be all that comfortable. So forehead or chin, but keep your tush up, your spine long, reaching your arms and your hands forward. Anahata chakra, the heart chakra, of course, is just behind the sternum. And so we're descending the heart chakra towards the floor. It's a fairly significant shoulder flexion. So if your chin was on the floor, I want you to bring your forehead back to the floor so we don't strain our neck. And then from there, one hand at a time, slide your hands back until they're underneath your shoulders. And from here, you can slowly press the floor away from you and come up. All right. Well done. So take your, if you've got two bolsters, you'll take your rectangle bolster long ways on your mat. Take your blanket and give it a fold so you've got a good sized pillow, maybe about a 4-inch tall pillow, and place that up at the top of your bolster. And then you're going to turn around away from your bolster so it's stacked up behind you. And then if you have the second bolster, that's going to slide under your knees. If you don't have the second bolster, no sweat. Put a pillow or a couple of pillows under your knees, or a rolled up bath towel or beach towel or blanket will work every bit as fine, every bit as well. We want to have the knees supported so that there's a little bit of space in the knee joint, little tiny flexion in the knees, little tiny flexion in the hips. And then here we go, coming down for the count.
Hands to the floor on either side of your bolster. I want you to lift your hips just a tiny bit and sweep your tailbone forward. It's a real small move. And then you can gently roll yourself over this long bolster that supports your spine. Adjust the pillow underneath your head. So you want your forehead to be above your heart. And ideally, there's this descending energetic action of forehead, nose, sternum. Rather than tilting our head back, we're actually bringing our chin towards our throat slightly. And then rest your arms at your sides with your palms turned up so that you're in a position of being open, of being receptive. And I hope this feels good. If for any reason this does not feel good, then you can eliminate any piece or part of it that's not serving you. Find your way into a more comfortable shape if this is not it. And then from here, as your body settles over the support of the props, bring your awareness to settle onto your breath. Follow your breath as it moves in through your nose and as it exits from your nose. And let's roll into this 3-part breath where you inhale and feel your belly expand, then your low ribs expand, and then finally your upper chest expands. And when you exhale, there's just a soft deflation. So there's this wave-like pattern, breathing in and the belly rises, and then the ribs, and then the upper chest. And breathing out, just soft and slow. And as this pattern becomes more familiar to you, you can begin to use some rhythm. And you can inhale, let your belly expand for 2 counts. Give it a pause. And then the same in breath, expand your low ribs for 2 counts and pause. And then finally, the same inhalation, breathing in for 2 more counts and your upper chest expands. And then there's a pause at the top. And then an exhalation. So 2 beats, pause, 2 beats, pause, 2 beats, pause, and then exhale. Kind of like blowing up a balloon in 3 parts. And take one more breath like this in what's called Viloma Pranayama. And after this final 3-part breath, just allow your breath to find its own rhythm and its own rate. And let go of manipulating and controlling. And let your breath find its own flow. And I always want to encourage you, if you have the time and the space in your schedule to stay in Shavasana for another 5, 7, or 10 minutes, to please do so. Otherwise, pull a deep breath into your lungs and begin to move your fingers and your toes. Start to move your hands and your feet. And stretch through your arms and through your legs. You can bend your knees, set your feet onto the bolster, blanket, or pillow that was supporting your knees, and you can roll it out to the side or roll it forward out from underneath you, and then bring yourself over to one side. Oh. Mm. Slowly rise up. Find a comfortable seated position. Maybe that's up on a chair or your bolster or on the floor. And placing your 2 palms together, bring the base of your thumbs to your third eye, the Agnya chakra. May our practice be used to cultivate peace in our minds. Bring your fingertips down to your lips. May our practice be used to cultivate peace in our words. Finally, rest your hands at your heart. May this practice be used to cultivate peace in our hearts. Good. Thank you so much for joining me. Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy.